Welcome to the football show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. We are here in Madrid, and the great news is we're lucky that the cameraman's not just about to get run over by a bus, but we are here. I thought he was a goner there, Ruffy. We are here in Madrid, the capital city, for Real Madrid against Celtic on match day 6 of the Champions League, and we've been here for a few days, Ruffy. We've had a fantastic time.
Yes, we certainly have. We've been entertained royally by the locals, and we've enjoyed every minute of it, and what a fantastic backdrop.
Absolutely, and the way the partnership works here, I do all the graft, all the writing, we get the show ready, and Ruffy batters as many brandies in as he possibly can. And Ruffy, I'm amazed that you're here in front of the Bernabeu today, because what a night we had last night.
Yes, we certainly did, and that's what happens when somebody said, don't worry about paying the bill, it's free. You just rip the backside out of it.
Yeah, absolutely, we had a great time. Lots of Celtic fans, we've seen so many of them here to enjoy themselves. Ruffy, I've never seen so many without tickets in all my life, apart from, obviously, Seville in 2003.
Yeah, I feel sorry for some of them, but you notice that the older members of the family are giving up their tickets for their kids not to go into the game. No, it's their birthday, a couple of guys, it's their 18th or 21st, and they are giving their tickets for the young kids to get in, which is a tremendous gesture.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to talk about, obviously, Bernabeu Stadium and, of course, Madrid and Real Madrid against Celtic, the final Champions League match. Celtic are going to finish bottom of the group. Not much they can do about that. And, of course, we'll reflect on last night as well, Ruffy, where Rangers had one heck of a rough night, didn't go according to plan. And they've got the worst ever record in the Champions League.
Yeah, it's a record that a team of Rangers' magnitude won't want to have. They'll be hoping next year somebody can take that off them, but it's there, it's in the books. We'll just have to go on with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So lots to talk about. We'll delve into Hearts, looking forward to their game against Istanbul Başakşehir, and we'll also talk about a wee bit of memorabilia, because Ruffy's got more than his fair share, so have I, and you might be interested in how much that ball's going for that Maradona used the hand of God to fire over Peter Shilton in the 1986 quarter-final of the World Cup. Anyway, we'll talk about that, lots more. If you get a chance, hit the subscribe button and you can join the football family at PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. What we're going to do, Ruffy, is we're going to sit down somewhere, get ourselves a wee drink, and then talk in detail about all the football that's going on.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot going on, a lot of action happening, and I'm sure we could maybe find that pub with the guy who wants charges.
Yeah, absolutely. If we find that tonight, then I think I'll spend a few more hours than I did last night trying to get him to be professional, trying to get him out of the pub to get ready for this show today. Hit the subscribe button. Don't forget, if you download the app as well, you'll get all the breaking football news. It's PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. The amount of people we bumped into here in Madrid who live here or have come from near and far, who actually, expats, watch the programme, Ruffy.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. You know, I think we're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And
well, you are after the brandies last night.
It's great that they're all tuning in and listening in, and from far and wide as usual.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell Ruffy's answers are a wee bit shorter today, because the more he talks, the more his head hurts. But download the app, you'll get all the breaking stories. And if you get onto YouTube, hit the subscribe button as well. And right across all our social media, we'll bring you all the reaction from the Bernabeu Stadium for Real Madrid against Celtic, the final match in this group. Celtic won't be going forward to play European football after the new year. I don't think any Scottish club has really done that well in Europe. And we'll be talking about the performances of Rangers, Hearts and Celtic over the course of that campaign in the group stages. So hit the subscribe button if you can. Let's go and just sit down somewhere and discuss these games in greater detail, Ruffy.
Yeah, super. Let's find somewhere nice and near.
We're going to start, Ruffy, with obviously events at Ibrox. In the end, Rangers finished their Champions League campaign with the worst ever record in Champions League history, the biggest goal deficit in -20, no wins, and very poor performances on the park. I think a lot of Rangers fans are not only happy with the way the team went about their business, but certainly some aspects of the manager's attitude to the campaign.
Yeah, I think that a lot of Rangers supporters would have left the stadium last night, obviously with the list of miserable results, you know, wondering whether Gio is the man to turn this round. You know, it's a big ask. You know, listening to his press conference last night, you know, he's fell into the category of, well, trying to get everybody on board, that this is just a learning experience for a lot of his players in Europe. But I think the fans are wanting a bit more than that. They don't want to be the team holding the worst ever European record.
Well, they've got it, and let's be honest about it. They're a top 4 group. Let's try and offer a bit of balance before we analyse the game itself. They're a top 4 group. They finished bottom of the group, so they got what they deserved. They got what was expected, but I think there's much more to read into it, and I think I talked about it there. The overall style of play. Countless people watched Rangers and they wanted them to have a go. They wanted them to maybe get that high press. They wanted them maybe to be, a team that was clinical. I mean, Alfredo Morelos' miss last night summed up their whole campaign. An open goal and couldn't hit the target.
Yeah, it certainly did. Lacking in confidence right through the team. I think you got it right at the beginning. You said no points out of this group. You were bang on with that. I think that, as you said there, the disappointment was the way they set about their business against these teams. I think the fans pay big money, real big money, to go along to these games, home and away, and they expect their team to put in a shift. And that just never happened in any of the games at all.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, by the way, but I did tell you 3-1.
Yes, you did. You got it bang on, by the way.
I should be putting money on it. I'm on such a good run at the moment.
Yeah,
although, let's be honest about it, it's not too difficult to predict Scottish clubs in European football at the moment, because after the misery of Motherwell, it then went on to, Hearts at times with RFS. You've got to give them credit. But the overall stat is they're all out, and that's the disappointing thing when you look back on all 3 campaigns. Although some Celtic fans, and I think rightly so, will argue the point, wait a minute, we're happy with the football, we can see the progress.
Oh, and most definitely. I think right from the very, very start, obviously Celtic had Real Madrid, and for a start in that game, for the first 60 minutes, they were holding their own. They were giving their fans something to cheer about, something to look forward. But obviously Real Madrid's class told in the end, and most of the other games, Celtic have all. The difference between Celtic and Rangers is Celtic have always been in every game. There's always been a chance that they could take something out of these games, and that's a complete opposite for Rangers, who have never been in any of the group matches at all.
Well, what's been wrong with the performances? Because obviously, listen, the buck stops with the manager, and I'm going to ask you about Giovanni van Bronckhorst in a minute, but what about the overall strategy of the way the team's gone about their business?
Yeah, it's been disappointing. As I said just earlier there, I don't think they've challenged any of the teams in their group. And in all fairness, I think they were in a harder group, as we've seen now in Napoli and Liverpool now getting their act together. So they were in the hardest group, but I just think that I don't know. I'd love to know what the manager's, Gio's thoughts were on how they were going to take on these teams, but I think the Liverpool score was a massive setback. It doesn't matter what team you play for, to get beat 7-1 at home is a morale boosting result.
Yeah, it's a morale boosting result for Liverpool.
Yeah.
It's certainly a demoralising situation for Rangers. Is there an excuse for injuries?
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, I'm going to give him a bit of slack in this one.
Well, his 4 centre-backs have been missing at times.
Yeah, the defence, for me, Rangers' defence was always the strongest part of their team. Even in their run to the final 3 months ago, their defence were super solid. Weren't losing many goals. Goalkeeper was fantastic, making the big saves. They were coming away for games, away from home against really quality Europa Cup teams and holding their own. But their defence, obviously, Bassey being sold, Aribo away, Golston injured. It's a makeshift centre of the defence. Fullbacks are still there, Tavernier's still there, Barishic's still there. So it's the centre of the defence, it's been the problem, and that's why they're losing so many goals.
Yeah, if the crowd were going to get up for it once they heard the Champions League theme, they were certainly flat as a pancake by the time Berghuis had scored after 4 minutes.
Yeah, it certainly was, and again, signs you don't want to see at the end of the game. You don't want to see fans leaving the ground too early. Again, last night the stadium was practically empty, and the Rangers players were going round thanking the ones who stayed for hanging on in there. But it's a horrible sight at the end of a game.
Yeah, listen, Ajax, the game was done and dusted after half an hour. They've gone 2-0 up, Ruffy, and you're then actually saying to yourself, don't make this a hammering. I think Rangers fans were just saying, come on, show a bit of fight here. There's nice passage of play and possession, but there's no killer instinct in it. They couldn't get the goals. I mentioned Morelos, which was embarrassing. They eventually get a penalty, and let's not forget, Ajax had a goal chopped off.
Yeah, they certainly did. It could have been worse on the night. You look at the result and say 3-1. It's a poor result at home, but it's not as bad as 7. or 5 or 6. So they'll take that into consideration. But I think the other thing you have to take into consideration is Ajax won 3-1 last night. They've been battered by everybody. They've lost so many goals, it's unreal.
Yeah.
So where is the standard? What is the gap? You know, if Ajax are getting battered by everybody else in the group and then they're battering Rangers, so it's a poor food for thought.
Yeah, Rangers are 4 points off Celtic in the league. The domestic situation will obviously become more worrying for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst if they to lose any more ground to Celtic, and I think that would be the breaking point. In the Champions League, I think they finished exactly where most people expected them to. It's not just a simple reason of the team the manager picks, or maybe that we've thrown in the injuries. I think Rangers' predicament in the Champions League and how they've been out of their level completely goes back to, I think, recruitment as well. We've been discussing it on the show ad nauseum. The recruitment's been poor. The players that they've bought, none of them have really made a constant claim for a starting place. There's been ageing players asked to take positions in that side and try and patch things up. And of course you've got a defence that's not settled, and that leads to chaos more often than not. And then you've got the Morelos situation, which, you know, only now as he started to try and get back to looking like some form of professional footballer who's fit. And I totally and utterly take out Cholak, because I think that boy has done really well. He's been asked to score goals. He's come in and scored them. He needs a bit of help. I think there are some people who don't deserve as much criticism.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I think he has fallen back on experience. Arfield and Davis, they've been thrown into the equation. I don't think they would have started any of the games if they had replaced quality for quality. I think the fans now will be asking, you know, they let Bassi go, they let Aribo go, let Patterson go. But there's nothing come in that's been equal to, you know, these three players. And even if it was a young signing who'd come in and really hit the ground running, I think the supporters might have bought into that, but there has been no replacement at all for the quality that they've let go for a lot of money.
Well, Rangers fans, you can give us your thoughts on it. What do you make of the worst ever Champions League performance in history? Certainly the goals against, the deficit of 20 does not look good. And remember, Rangers have only scored 2 goals. James Tavernier got that penalty as well. It's not good. Certainly the open play, there may have been nice passages of play, but the finished product, that final third, scoring goals and keeping things out at the back, has been a nightmare. In fact, I think the only other goal that from memory was the goal against Liverpool from Scott Arfield. It's the only 2 moments that Rangers fans have got to cheer anything positive. But with that in mind, overall, Rangers, that's the 5th time in the 11 attempts in the group stages that they finished bottom of the table. This one is certainly one to forget. The worrying aspect of it, Ruffy, is some people will think, well, wait a minute, there's been a lot of money banked in there. January, Rangers have got to spend to try and make sure they're in the title race with Celtic. But there's a quote, and this is not a situation where people from rumour and counter-rumour and speculation, and I know a guy who knows a guy in the boardroom. This is Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, and the quote is, the club won't spend millions because the money isn't there. He said that at the start of the season, and he said it in the Champions League press conference. It's there for all to see. So if people are thinking there's some kind of gravy train, some kind of huge amount of money, it's just not going to materialise.
No, it isn't. But when you right for the start that Rangers threw everything at getting into the Champions League, they gambled. They gambled by, you know, spending a lot of money and putting players on big wages and everything. The gamble paid off. They're in. They got in. They got the money that goes with it. But supporters want to see an improvement of your team, you know, but it's a sore one, and I think the Rangers fans know now that there is no money going to be spent because there was so much money thrown at it to get in that money has to be repaid. Yeah,
and to be perfectly honest with you, Ruffy, by the time Conceição had scored that goal, a lot of Rangers fans had gone away, just wanting to put the whole campaign behind them. They're now looking and saying, I think a lot of them are looking and saying, well, from the Europa League to where they are now, I think personally they've gone backwards. I think a lot of Rangers fans will share that view, and I think many of them are now saying, well, wait a minute, it's not if he gets sacked, it's when he's going to get sacked, because I don't think they're enamoured with Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. This is a tightrope that's all about a draw or a defeat in the league coming up, and I think it's curtains.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I also think it depends on what Celtic do. If Celtic keep on their winning way, there's more chance, I think, Rangers are dropping points in Celtic. There will be a point when a gap will be too much. What that gap will be, I don't know if it's going to be 6 points, 7 points, 8 points. But I do think now Gio's lost all the bonus points that he had. And every game that they go into now is a pressure game. They have to produce 3 points at every game they play in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's Rangers for you. And over and above the 90 minutes that they played in, some Celtic fans actually walking by, and I thought that was the funniest moment last night. I have to tell you, as well as the Celtic fans getting ready, some of them walking past, getting ready to go to the Bernabeu, maybe a little stadium tour before they get ready to get into the game. We are walking into the hotel last night, Ruffy. You won't remember because you were absolutely bladdered. But the boy comes up and he goes, "Is there any chance I can get a photo, Peter?" And he says, "You and Alan Brazil." you had one hell of a night of it last night.
I actually thought at one stage I was Ali Brazil.
That's exactly what I was going to say to you. You World Cup boys know how to have a party, I'll tell you that. But certainly the hospitality's been great, Ruffy. I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
It's been great. We've met loads of nice people, really nice people who entertained us regally, if we can say that. And Lord, mate, continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Ruffy, unfortunately for your own point of view, they can't see that there's a guy walked past in a Celtic tartan in a kilt, and boy, he looks as if he could actually play for Scotland at rugby. He's a solid boy. I wish you could see him, but nevertheless, let's crack on, Ruffy. Great hospitality, beautiful city. Wonderful stadium, not quite finished yet. I think it'll be about 81,500 the capacity. Now, I'm looking forward to this game. Obviously to see Madrid. Hopefully Modric plays for me because I love that style of player. Off the back of the disappointment of Rangers and the fallout from that, we are now looking at a team who also will finish bottom of the group, albeit with 2 points, possibly more depending on the match tonight. But amazingly, Ruffy, before we talk about the actual game, we were at the press conference yesterday. You know, Ange Postecoglou was waxing lyrical about the Celtic fans. How many Celtic fans do you think officially have tickets for this? The allocation for Celtic fans. Give me your guess.
Well, we can see him and he's here. You know, up in the plaza.
You've been counting them all.
And we thought an estimate early on figure would be 2,000 or 3,000.
Yeah.
Who have tickets, but I would think there's another maybe 6,000 or 7,000 who don't have tickets for this game. The
official allocation 1,824, and I can tell you they reckon. Now I'm not going to fall into that whole Seville thing, but they reckon there's maybe 10 to 12,000. Yeah. Some of them just over to say that they've sampled the whole atmosphere, and some of them who have that area of following your favourite team that I love, Ruffy, which is. I just come over and the plane and this boy sold me his ticket. I'm in.
Yeah.
Now that's the greatest feeling ever, isn't it? There was a guy last night who said to his son is 21, and he said, and I just want him to say that he's been to see Celtic against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, and he got him a ticket.
Oh, that's the magnitude of this team, this Real Madrid dream, the history they have, the players they have. Just walking into that stadium will be a tremendous experience for a lot of people. Yeah, they'll want to go in there, they'll want to see their team putting up some kind of show. I think Celtic will, in possession. I think we all know that they'll give it a go. It's defensively I would worry a wee bit, obviously a couple of players out. So I just hope we're not looking at the game through fingers as we were at Barcelona.
Yes, get ready for that, Ruffy, because I'm about to suggest a scoreline which is not favourable. But listen, at the end of the day, it's about opinions. You get it uncensored, football news and banter, and no shortage of opinions, and special guests aplenty on PLZ Soccer's football show. If you hit the subscribe button, you'll become part of the football family. You can also download the app. It's got all the breaking football news from across the UK and European football, and over and above that you'll get lots of unique video content. So hopefully you'll become part of our team. Obviously from our point of view, we've had a great relationship going across the European games this season. Adam Binney, our reporter, has been fantastic. Kerry Pollock, our reporter, has been covering the games, has been absolutely superb. We've really jumped into the Champions League big style, Ruffy, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, and the good thing about it is you have to be there. You know, I think it's great seeing the supporters, mixing with the supporters, getting the feeling of all these European games, and that's where the clubs want to be, and you can see why they want to be, because they're obviously spreading the news of their team abroad and enjoying every minute of it.
You'll never have experienced this, Ruffy, but some fans will have tickets, and if Celtic score, there is an urge and a desire to jump up and down. Now, I don't know about you, unless, and I'm only speculating, unless there has been a huge influx of people with red hair and peely-wally complexion who suddenly are Spaniards in the Real Madrid end. If Celtic score and some wee guy with ginger hair and a Celtic strip jumps up and down, I think he might get launched out of it, and they've got tickets for everywhere.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as usual, when you come to these massive stadiums, the away fans are stuck away up in the corner somewhere. You know, and it is a big stadium, you know, so let's hope that I hope there isn't many of them in the Real Madrid side, because obviously,
why not?
You know, like it is, you know, sometimes the police react a lot harder than, you know, most other countries, and you don't want anything like that happening.
Well, you don't want them to get chucked out, but if they've got in, they've got a ticket, fair play to them. As long as they don't encounter a Spanish guy saying, "Go get me a Bovril." The old Billy Connolly joke, it just flies back into my mind. To the match itself, we were at the press conference yesterday. Matt O'Reilly says we're going to continue to play the same way when I asked him the question, which filled me full of fear.
Yeah. Well, I think the plan is don't give them possession. You know, just keep the ball out in your half as much as possible. Keep possession of the ball. Don't have the ball boys throwing the ball in too quick. You know, it'll be a change of attitude over here. It'll be kicking the ball away in. Hopefully the ball's not on the park, because as soon as they get possession of that ball, they're going to go for the jugular. The unfortunate thing is obviously they need to win the game.
Yeah, they need to win the game, but not need to win it. They know they're through, but they want to win it because they want to finish top. And Carlo Ancelotti said, "We are Real Madrid. That's what we expect. That's what we have to do." There is, as Stephen McGowan mentioned, there's just a tremendous sense of, I mean, is it entitlement or that kind of a, you know, feeling as if they are superior, you know, they are a team, a super club. I mean, it's almost that sense of we must finish first. That's the standard. There's no lowering the bar.
Well, you have to go into the trophy room to see where the standard is. You know, you see the trophies that are on display.
Yeah.
You know, everybody loves a trophy room. It doesn't matter what club you're at, but their trophy room surpasses everything that I've seen.
Yeah, I think Ruffy yesterday in their shop, I think I've contributed to them being able to buy a couple of players next season because the prices were mental.
Yeah, they certainly are, with quality good, and you could see the people that were in there. They just wanted a bit of it. I thought it was much busier than Barcelona. I thought people were buying into it more, and obviously it's a great. Every merchandise is fantastic.
Yeah, some of the stuff was absolutely top drawer, expensive, and you obviously from your own point of view with a huge reserve of cash. What did you buy, Ruffy?
I bought a keyring.
There you are, and that sums them up. Just to give you a wee insight, he bought a keyring. We go to a special person's restaurant who picks up the tab. Once Ruffy realises in his Scotland Argentina 1978 mode, he just then decides to absolutely batter it. And what a by the way, see when I saw the bill, Ruffy, I had never been so delighted that the guy was picking up the tab.
Yeah, when they obviously gave us the bill, I was looking about to see who the other 10 guys were that were eating it.
It was absolutely sensational. I looked at you at one point. I'll tell you, the strange thing about it, you're older than me, and I'm looking at you at 10-1. I'm trying to drag you out the pub.
Yeah,
I mean, it was incredible.
Well, there's standards when you go. There's standards you have to live up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, before we got to the party, had a chat with Ange. Obviously, as ever. I don't know what it is with me and Celtic managers. I just seem to annoy them, Ruffy. Back page headlines today. I don't need to prove anything as a manager. They're all there. Everybody knows. I did ask him, and the point I was making to him was, listen, this must have whetted your appetite, to go there and say, I'm a manager. I can prove with the team that I've put there
that we can go and live with it. That's what they do. That's what the managers do. They might tell you something completely different on air, but believe me, that's what they're all about.
Yeah, well, I was more than happy. Sitting behind you in that press conference, because when you asked the question, there was a stare at your direction, because you asked them a question that a lot of people wanted the answer of.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, I think he gave you a decent answer.
Yeah, I like Ange.
Yeah,
I think, do you know what the thing about it? I think the great thing about Ange, maybe the a wee bit of the Aussie, a wee bit of the Greek in him, he doesn't mince his words. He calls it as he sees it. You might buy into some of it you treat with a pinch of salt, but he is refreshing, and I absolutely think his team have been at times a joy to watch this season, Ruffy, because people are not criticising the fact that he wants to play attacking football, because a lot of Celtic fans will tell you that's the Celtic way. They want to be entertained. So I think he deserves credit for that. Where the criticism comes is exactly what Giovanni Van Bronckhorst is getting. Play all the great football you want, but if you keep getting cuffed, then sooner or later you're going to get a bit of criticism. But I see his job as a work in progress, and I think that's why he's got so much latitude with the Celtic fans.
Yeah, and that's the strength of him. I think nearly every fan has bought into what he's trying to do at the club. I think they're all prepared to give him time. They've all experienced this group stage. I mean, let's be honest, it has been a failure. 2 points. It's only 2 points more than when Rangers have got, but as you said, they've entertained, and that's the difference between the two teams.
Ruffy, we were with Frank McAvenny yesterday. Frank McAvenny in that Ange Postecoglou side, he'd have about 40 goals by now. Can you imagine Henrik Larsson? Henrik Larsson would have been flown over mid-November to pick up the Golden Boot.
Yeah, it's just the way they play. It's just the midfield are attacking. They get the ball wide as quickly as possible, and the wide men just fire balls into the box. And if you've got a really, really quality centre forward in there, he'll get his fair share. He'll get his fair share of sticking them away. And that's what Giamakis is doing now.
I'll tell you what the saddest moment of this whole campaign is for me, Ruffy, as I reflect on match day 6 coming up and the 5 games that have gone before. I'm so gutted that Callum McGregor will not get to say he's played in the Bernabeu for Celtic, because he is a player worthy of that stadium.
Yeah, you keep looking at top teams, and top teams have a player of quality like Callum McGregor. He'll be disappointed, but he's got a lot of other big games ahead of him. I think he is now a big captain at Celtic. I think he's a leader on the park, and he'd be great. And I keep going back to our old pal. It's great seeing a Scottish player dominating a game of quality. And I keep talking about wee Barry against Italy.
Yeah.
And that night he was up against Pirlo, and he just controlled the whole game, dictated it. And I think Callum McGregor is not far away from being that kind of player who can grab the game by the scruff of the neck and dictate how it's going to go.
And the blow, of course, not only Callum McGregor, Cameron Carter-Vickers, sore from the weekend. Remember, he had an injury, and the knee playing on AstroTurf doesn't help it, which Ange Postecoglou mentioned. So he's not there. Starfelt's going to start, I think.
Yeah, it's a big shout. He's not played for a wee while as well. He's going to be not match fit, and that's where they're going to be tested the most. I think everybody's hoping it isn't a big defeat. I think a morale boosting result coming away from here would be good to move forward with, and look forward to next year if they're in the Champions League.
Well, I think they will be in the Champions League. The other aspect of it, Ruffy, that I think is worthy of pointing out, when he was asked yesterday about the fact that he was linked with Kobayashi of Vissel Kobe, he said, I'm not going to confirm on names, he says, but we are way down the line on players that we want in for January to move forward. Now, regardless of his previous press conference where he's talking about developing certain players and making them better, he's going to ship out players that can't cut it, and he's bringing in players. This guy is the total opposite of the way Celtic used to conduct their business. Get me the players, get me them in quickly, let's move forward. And that's why I think, despite all these constant stories about him going down south, I think he's looking and saying to himself, I'm going to give this a right good 2 or 3 years.
Well, that's what the fans want to hear. They want to hear, a change in policy. It used to be in January. January used to, that marquee signing would come in. But he'd only be there to the end of the year. He'd only be at the club for 3 months, and that's changed now. He's wanting to bring in people who are going to be there for 2 or 3 years, not just a stopgap to win the league. He sees that the players that are coming in our league, that they're making a difference.
Okay, Ruffy, let's cut to the chase. Let's give our prediction on this one. We're going to talk a wee bit about Hearts as well, and something else which I know will grab your attention, a wee bit of memorabilia. But Celtic have never won a competitive match in Spain. 20 games, 17 defeats. Not a great record. They have actually won in the Bernabeu in 1967 when Jimmy Johnston was at his absolute imperious best. Absolutely dominated Alfredo Di Stefano's testimonial, was jinking as he does around so many great players, and Celtic won 1-0. Bobby Lennox scored the winner. Great memories.
Great memories for Jinky, because I think after that game he got selected for the rest of the Europe team with the mega stars of Europe, because he performed so well in that game.
Yeah.
Do you want
me to tell you a couple of Jinky stories?
On you go.
Well, I like the one, I don't know, I mean obviously it's been embellished over the years, but I like the one where Jock Stein got a call after that match from Real Madrid saying, okay, we're going to offer you 100,000. He says, right, that's okay for the first game, how much are you giving us for the rest for him? Which I thought was fantastic. That's how good Jinky was. But the best story told by Jinky to me in his house in a brilliant sit down with him, I'll never forget it, and he said to me, Peter, the funny thing was, at the end of the game, Alfredo Di Stefano used to hold the ball up to the crowd when at the end of games in the Bernabeu, and they hailed him because Di Stefano was a genius, great scorer, great player. Jinky had absolutely ripped everybody up. He was sensational, and at the end of the game, he just grabbed the ball up into the spotlight of the floodlights, as if to say, and then at the end of the game, Jimmy said to us, we all went to a reception, and Di Stefano come up and he said, can we have a photograph together? And he looked at me and he said, Peter, standing in front of me was Hento, I think Santa Maria, Puskas and Di Stefano. And Jimmy Johnson says to us, I said to him, you guys, me? And Di Stefano said, in whatever way the language was, you are worthy. He said, and there's me with 4 of the greatest players in the history of Real Madrid. And Jimmy, you know what? I'd love somewhere in the archives for someone to unearth that photograph.
Yeah, well, he was up there with him, wasn't he? He was like the Real Madrid side of that. The players that you're talking about there, they were entertainers, and certainly wee Jinky would have fitted in quite easily in that company.
Yeah. Benzema, fit. Might have a place on the bench, might start. Be good to see him, Ruffy. Not many times you get a chance to see him. I saw him as a youngster for Lyon where he was blistering. This time around, to see him at this end of his career, he's still 34, still knows how to take care of himself. What a player.
Yeah, and he's another one that the Celtic fans can see. He's a Ballon d'Or winner now,
They'll never sell ice cream at that pace, Ruffy, will they?
No.
Just thought I love that gag. It's my favourite Morecambe and Wise gag of all time. Every time I do that gag, my daughter wants to punch my lights out. But nevertheless, you can hear it in the background. Benzema, fantastic. Give us your prediction. I think Celtic are going to lose 4-1.
Well, I hope Celtic have learnt a lesson for that. I keep going on about the Real Betis game.
Yeah.
I think if Celtic go 2-0 up tonight, I just hope that they can defend a lot better than that game.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to be the case.
No. The other thing about it as well is, once he'd actually realised that the tab was free, he started doing brandies, gins and lager. And I don't think it's worn off because, as you can see, Ruffy's off his nut. Keys piece. 2-0 up.
No, I was only joking. I'm going to go for a morale boosting 2-0 defeat.
Yeah.
Only 2.
Is that just morale boosting to the Real Madrid fans?
My problem is most of your predictions are right, so I'm just waiting to see what you're going to say here.
I'm going 4-1 Madrid. I mean, it's as simple as that. I think they need to win. They've got the class. And the one worrying thing, and here's the best line of the whole day, Carlo Ancelotti at the press conference. Now, Carlo Ancelotti, when they won the Champions League against Liverpool, and remember that Champions League final, Liverpool were relentless going towards them, but because they played that high line, they were able to sneak in once, and Vinicius Jr. scored that all-important winning goal for Real Madrid. And after that Champions League final, Carlo Ancelotti said, we knew how they were going to play. We knew exactly what their style was. We waited for our moment. Now that for me was chilling, because of all the hyperbole, all this kind of obsession with how great Liverpool were. Ancelotti, one of the greatest managers in the history, knew exactly what they were going to do, and he told his players, this is how we'll counter it. In the press conference yesterday, he's basically said, I'm surprised Celtic have finished bottom because of the way they've gone about their business, which was a lovely compliment, and I think a very sincere compliment from him. But he said, we know it's going to be an open game. They won't change their style. They're not coming here to park the bus. They're coming here to play. Now, when he says we know it's going to be an open game, that for me is chilling, because Real Madrid, if it goes according to plan, and I'm willing to take a hammering from Celtic fans, I think they're in for one of those let's get our hands in front of our eyes, Ruffy.
Well, I hope it's not, because we all know that the way Celtic play, and I think unfortunately the two full-backs who charge forward at every opportunity will leave gaps at the back. They've got the quality, as we saw in the first game, to exploit that, whether it's early on or late on or whatever. So it needs to be a disciplined display. I know Ange's saying plan A is going to entertain and attacking, but you definitely have to come to a stadium like this and you have to show that you can defend in numbers.
Yeah, okay. Istanbul against Hearts. Craig Gordon could become the joint highest European appearance holder for Hearts alongside Henry Smith and Stephen Presley. That would be a lovely accolade for him.
Yeah, he's breaking all the records, and I really do hope he continues to play on. I keep saying every time I bump into him, I keep saying go for the Scotland record, go for the Jim Leighton's record. I think unfortunately the injuries he's had has curtailed that a wee bit, but if he continued to play for a couple of years, and played nearly every Scotland game, he wouldn't be far away from Jim Leighton, and I think that would be an amazing target to hit.
Yeah, we talked about the prize money for getting a win. In the Europa Conference League, it's about £430,000. A draw is about £143,000. So Hearts, the 1,000 fans that will be travelling there to Istanbul, will be hoping they are going to get something positive to cheer about in the stadium. But unfortunately for me, Ruffy, despite the fact I think Hearts have showed a bit of form of late, I think Basikshehir will win, and with a bit to spare.
Well, they had a bit to spare at Tynecastle, and I don't think there's going to be any difference there. Again, since that game, I think Hearts have picked up more injuries than they would have liked. A lot of important people are out. I think Halkett's a big miss for them because he was very strong defensively, so I can't see any difference for the first game. Okay, just before we finish, it's taken on another little twist. This I always like to keep you up to date with memorabilia. You know the referee, his name is Ali bin Nasser. He was the referee in the match between Argentina and England in 1986, and he was going to sell the ball, and I think it's going to fetch about £3 million. To the boy, and you were going, hey, wait a minute, how did the referee get the ball? How did he get the ball? Well, in an article I read today, Ali bin Nasser says that referees, all of them from the 1986 World Cup, albeit if somebody scored a hat-trick, they got the ball, but all the referees were able to take the match ball from their game at the 1986 World Cup. So, with that in mind, it's his ball. He kept it. He had the presence of mind to think, this game goes down in history, I'm going to hold on to it. And for £3 million, he'll secure his family's, enjoyment, lifestyle for the next few years or so. That's fantastic. Obviously, everybody likes a bit of memorabilia. Since that story, I've went out and bought 3 or 4 tangos, and I'm blowing them up. I'm trying to get as many people to sign them as possible. Yeah. If that's the kind of money you're getting. Yeah. How much would your Zico strip be worth right now? I don't know. I'd have to get him to sign it. Oh, if I could get him to sign it, if you could find it. Find it, and I'll get him to sign it. Listen, fantastic. It's a beautiful city, wonderful people, very friendly. I've actually been on holiday here, Ruffy. I love the city of Madrid. It's so clean, and of course there are so many beautiful buildings. The architecture is absolutely superb, and the majority of Celtic fans have come here to enjoy themselves. I'm not going to shirk away from the fact there's a few Celtic fans drunk, caused a bit of problems getting here, and some in the square, so hopefully they can go to the game, support their team, and get out of it. The majority of people who are who come to games
decent people who want to see their team win and don't drink too much. Obviously,
Yes.
obviously, I'm here to chaperone you,
Yes,
Ruffy.
yes.
But
But they have to remember that they're representing their club, and as a minority, and you have to remember when they do leave here, the memories of the supporters that are here will stay with the people from Madrid. So let's hope that they all behave themselves sensibly. I mean, we haven't seen anything at all. Everybody's been here enjoying themselves. So let's hope that continues.
absolutely, I love the city of Madrid. Thank you very much to the people who've been absolutely superb. From Ruffy, from myself, Macca, some of the Celtic fans that we've interviewed journalists giving us a little insight into Real Madrid, the side. We've also reflected on, of course, a dismal night for Rangers in Europe and overall. It could be more of the same tonight and possibly on Thursday for Scottish clubs. It's going to be a negative reflection on how they've performed, but hopefully, in a positive sense, you will hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel, because we give you opinion. It's uncensored football news and banter, and it's absolutely free to watch. Ruffy has enjoyed himself. I can tell you, I was there watching him enjoy himself. And we are going to be back with you tomorrow here in Madrid to reflect on what's happened in the Bernabeu Stadium. But from myself and Ruffy, thank you very much for watching today. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel.